So dear colleagues, I'm very glad to see you. Today we'll discuss about early English teaching. My name is Gumarova Laura. I'm teaching currently English at Nazarbayev Intellectual Schools. So first of all, let's talk about learning objectives. Today's learning objectives. We'll talk first of all trilingual policy, so the importance of knowing other languages. So then we'll talk about levels of maturity. Third will be learning skills, and the fourth will be learning styles, recycling vocabulary, and the realia. So the importance of knowing languages is very important, and the importance of learning other languages are very discussing nowadays everywhere in our Kazakhstan. So this report is taken from Nazarbayev, our president's Nazarbayev's speech, and here he gives statistics that every year 11 million books are published all over the world, and 80% of them are publishing in English. So from this, therefore, it means that teaching or knowing or learning English at early age is very important. So let's just speak in more detailed form about L1 and L2 learning processes. So if we talk about L1, it means that learning process can be differently, and it would be in a non-conscious way, and it will be a natural process. So it means that just a picking up process, and at different age, at young age. And if we talk about L2, it means it would be in a conscious way, and we have to pay attention to grammar, and we have to pay attention to lexics. We should think about enlarging vocabularies and interactive patterns. We have to just develop in a conscious way 4 skills in teaching, in learning. So just now, let's move to maturity, levels of maturity. So if we talk that children, teenagers, and adults have different levels of maturity, it means that they can be taught in different ways. And if we look this table activity matching difference in maturity, we can easily see that children need to move, and the teenagers, so they starting still for longer periods, however they need still to move, and adults can sit for a longer period of time. And if we talk about concentration, we can say that children have short attention span. So teenagers' concentration is developing. So adults can concentrate for longer periods. So if we talk about learning experience, so children learn through experience and just doing. Teenagers beginning to learn in abstract way, though they are still trying to seek, to search for support. And adults, so they can teach, they can be learned, they can be taught in a different abstract way. And if we talk about their behavior, so the children able to control, the children cannot control themselves, and teenagers, so they are trying to control themselves. Adults, they just control. And if we talk about making mistakes, so children say they don't afraid, they know, they don't know how to make errors, and that's why So they are still very confident, and they don't like, they don't bother about making just mistakes. Teenagers, they are afraid of making mistakes, and adults, so they are trying not to make mistakes. They are in a conscious way, they are trying to avoid. So let's move to the second just slide. So let's talk about speaking and the listening. Why we have chosen these speaking and the listening skills? As we know, speaking and the listening are skills which will be used most of all at young age. So because at this level, English teachers need to choose to provide a rich diet of learning experiences which encourage learners to get information from a variety of sources. So if we look through these pictures, we can see that these are pictures of different animals, and when we are trying to just recycle vocabulary, or when we introduce new vocabularies, we can take such kind of cards of different colors, of different animals, and we can give them to provide sufficient information about this or that animal, and in that way they can learn easily when they see. So let's talk about learner style and preference. So if we talk learner style, it means that from early age we know about different styles, about three different styles. So we know that they are just auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. So as previously told, it's very important to find out and to blend different learning styles. So let's look through this table, and we can see also other different styles except these three: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. They are standard, well-known styles, and we have another additional information about learning styles. So they are group, individual, reflective, impulsive, analyze, and autonomous. So group, it means so a learner can learn easily if they are doing in group, or if they work in groups with others. So individual, it means so a learner can learn individually. Reflective, it means the learner can learn easily when he can comment about some events himself. Impulsive, a learner can learn easily when he gives or she gives an immediate quick answer. Analyze, it means a learner can learn easily when he or she analyzes some process, some pieces of process. And autonomous, it means a learner can learn easily if we give them opportunity to choose just style, if we give them a kind of space, room to just direct their learning. So let's talk about just now vocabulary, why we recycle vocabulary. So we know that at early age, as we have chosen speaking and the listening skills, also every time we should enlarge their vocabulary if we want to just to supply learners' confidence. If they know vocabulary, if they have rich vocabulary, they will be very confident in speaking and in listening. They can recognize different kind of words, and they can just interact with each other from the early age. it will help to support their reading or writing skills just in mid-age when they'll be teenagers, when they'll be teenagers. So here you see that different well-known teachers, EFL teachers, they are trying to ensure us that, and it's already just is taken from experience, different words can be seen 8 times, minimum would be, and until 16 times we can say that from this period, if a person can see every time in different situations, they can easily learn these things, learn this stuff, vocabulary stock. So let's talk about realia. So it's very important, as we told about learning styles, learner styles. So different person, different learner can have different learning styles. That's why every time we have to bring different pictures, or we should supply with audiovisual materials differently. Or sometimes we can bring some things to support our children's motivation. So teachers sometimes can come to class with, for example, plastic fruit or with telephones to help or to stimulate phone conversations. So, or just, for example, from these pictures we can see different animals. So they can color these animals if you give different instructions. For example, rabbit, this is rabbit, and the color this rabbit with just black or just with other colors. Of course, first of all, we have to revise to introduce different colors. After this, it's up to teacher, up to your learners' behavior. Do they like to just color these pictures in one lesson, or you can separate these pictures for 2 lessons? Or also, for example, let's see these pictures. For example, you can say this is fish, this is rabbit, and what kind of color is this? So you can you can compose different questions for these kind of sheets, and they are good realia for developing the vocabulary stock. And the last will be about grouping. So it's very important when we think about grouping. So every time, in order not to lose their motivation and to stimulate a learning atmosphere in class, we have to regroup every time in order not to lose the focus on teaching or on learning. You see that from this, just from these pictures, that we can easily choose variety of regrouping, and we can separate them in different tables, or they can sit in a circle, or we can make or ask them to sit in as a horseshoe, or just they can at early age they can sit considering their friendship, their relationship, and they can easily sit with their friends.